You're probably well aware already of the fact that the financial system and the news and the media and Reddit and Wall Street bets are all going completely bonkers, primarily over this whole GameStop thing, which cascaded into the Robinhood thing and also has overflowed into AMC and BlackBerry and for some reason Nokia. And all of a sudden we've also very conveniently seen this huge media shift to talking about silver. Oh my gosh, there's going to be a short squeeze in silver. Everybody buy silver. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So if you haven't seen my raps yet, I did a couple of raps last week talking about the drama, basically condensed into 1 minute micro video rap things. And in one of my rap videos, I mentioned that I actually was about to open a Robinhood account. I was having trouble with my main brokerage. It was like getting overwhelmed, flooded by demand and all the crazy stuff that was happening. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday night here in Japan, whatever that ends up being in New York. But I'm like, okay, everybody says Robinhood's working well. So I went to go and deposit some money. And literally, I'm looking at Nokia, I'm looking at BlackBerry, AMC, GameStop, and all of a sudden, the screen switches and it's like, these stocks don't exist. These stocks don't exist. And I'm like, what's going on, dude? And so I go around a few different screens and find out these stocks are only available for sale. You're no longer allowed to buy them. It wouldn't let me do options or anything like that either. And so I immediately canceled the funds I was sending over to Robinhood and deleted the app. And apparently millions and millions of other people on the internet did the same thing. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with Robinhood through all of this. We've seen Robinhood's CEO, everybody calls him Vlad, coming out and saying there is no liquidity problem on some news reports. And then in other news reports being like, hey, because we had a liquidity problem, the SEC made us do all this stuff. And at the same time, you're also hearing reports of larger hedge funds or people like Citadel, who potentially maybe owns Robinhood or some part of Robinhood, coming in and forcing them to stop allowing the sale of GameStop. And all of this drama is happening over like a couple of days, potentially causing short sellers like Citadel and Melvin Capital and Citron to be losing billions of dollars. And then all of a sudden we see this huge media push where people are like, wow, there's this huge uprising on Wall Street, and then immediately, out of nowhere, silver, buy silver, you gotta buy silver. Oh my gosh, silver rush. Oh my gosh, all the big funds are getting silver. Oh my gosh, everybody in China is buying silver. And you just see articles everywhere you go, and you go on Wall Street bets and people are like, don't buy the silver. We're not buying silver. Why are all the media saying we've lost interest in GameStop and now we're buying silver? Articles everywhere, and it's all BS. It's all garbage. And basically, it points to the fact that our entire media, our entire government, our entire Wall Street is basically controlled by the rich people who make the rules, who control the government, and therefore feed us what to be doing. Check it out, Yahoo Finance. Silver prices hit highest since 2013 as Reddit army turns to commodities. So they're feeding this narrative like, oh yeah, they've already given up on GameStop. They already made all their money. Now they're moving on to silver. So you should too, kind of thing. And meanwhile, some news sources and actually some more quote unquote like legit sources are saying, oh yeah, all these big funds that were shorting GameStop have now covered their positions, and now the short holding is no longer 140, 130%. Now it's down to like 30% like any other normal company kind of thing. And there are all these other different sources competing on that as well. So one of them has to be wrong, or some of them have to be wrong, and some of them have to be right. We're going to take a look at some of the charts and the volume here in a minute as well, but first let's look back at some of the articles. Silver miners soar as Reddit traders pile into the precious metal. Silver prices surge to 8-year high amid Reddit-fueled frenzy. So we have Bloomberg, we have Yahoo Finance, we have Business Insider. Forbes, interestingly, said Reddit not the key driver of high silver prices. They took a very interesting stance on it. Basically, they said, the Republicans screwed up their rollout of the vaccine so heinously that they've decided to push this narrative that silver is this huge buy right now. So none of this actually has anything to do with GameStop. All these huge wealthy Republicans are saying, hey everybody, silver's this huge opportunity right now, so that they can save face, so people aren't worried about, so people aren't noticing how crappy the vaccine rollout has been around the country. But at the end of Forbes' article, they say, oh, and by the way, actually, there's still a lot of buy pressure coming in for silver, so you should probably get some. It's like, dude, What is going on with this garbage? So I've also talked a little bit about Citadel, who probably owns portion of Robinhood and has been lending Robinhood money, and also works with Melvin and Citron and stuff like that. I'm not like super duper well versed on it. There's a lot of hearsay, and it's hard to do fact checking when everywhere you look has competing facts, not unlike any of the news we've been seeing for the past kind of year. Actually, probably, I would be interested to hear your opinions, probably our whole lives. The media has worked like this. But basically, if you look in at the documents, you can see that Citadel owns huge amounts of calls on silver. So they go in, they're losing all this money on GameStop, they go in and buy silver cheap, and then all of a sudden tell the entire world, hey guys, buy silver, it's gonna be awesome, there's a short squeeze coming because for some reason a huge amount of people are short selling silver or something. And check it out here, they're going to be benefiting from this rise, maybe even so that they can cover their losses on GameStop and keep moving forward. Check it out here, it says $817 million in calls on silver by Citadel up here. There's another short position, or a put position, down below that. But you also can see how small of a position this is for their portfolio, 0.23%. Looking at a little over $800 million. So it's really insane to look at how big these hedge funds and these market makers really are. And it kind of puts things into perspective. You know, you look on Wall Street Bets and people are like, hey, I'm connecting with you from Germany. I've bought 20 shares of GameStop, holding diamond hands till death, kind of thing. And people all over the world are like trying to pool together to keep GameStop from being able to go down. And it might really just be a drop in the bucket. I don't know if this is a winnable fight, but sure enough, the longer people can keep the price of GameStop up, the short sellers are paying interest every day on those shares that they've borrowed to short sell. So those losses will keep getting bigger so long as the price of GameStop doesn't go back down. So it's interesting, you go back into Reddit and you would expect people to be like, everybody buy silver, oh my gosh. But actually what you see on Wall Street Bets, now 8 million people strong. It was like, I don't know, 2-3 million a few months ago, I feel like. I've been in there for a while, but not really super active or involved or anything like that. But basically all you see on Wall Street Bets is people saying, don't fall for the silver scam. They're just trying to get your eyes off GameStop so they can get GameStop back for cheaper. You might also be familiar with CNBC's Mad Money host, Jim Cramer. A lot of people for some reason look up to him as like a very experienced, a very knowledgeable guy. But this interview from 2006 has also come to light. I think it wasn't actually supposed to become a public thing. It's really nuts though if you watch it, and I'll put the link down in the description below. Hopefully it doesn't get banned by anybody. But basically, it was a private discussion between him and the interviewer. Rather than being interviewed on what hedge funds do or something like that, it was more like a bragging session. Like when I was in the hedge funds, and all of my buddies in the hedge funds, if we needed to make money, we could just change the market like this. We could just influence the media like this, and then it would go our way, and then we would make money. It was super easy money. One of the quotes from the video, he says, when shorting, the hedge fund mode is not to do anything remotely truthful, because the truth is so against your view, so the hedge funds create a new truth that is developed of the fiction. You hit the brokerage houses with a series of orders, a short down ladder that pushes the price down. Then we go to the press. You have a vicious cycle down. It's a pretty good game. And this guy runs this really big show on CNBC. He's literally bragging about how hedge funds control whatever they want to do. And so I guess my challenge for you is, how much are you going to be listening to the media? How much should we be listening to the media? How much can we trust really what we're being fed all the time? This doesn't just apply to this situation with Wall Street right now. It also applies to everything that's been going on in the country for the last year. And I'm not necessarily saying like Biden shouldn't have won or Trump should have won, or, you know, these riots or all this stuff happening around the country was like fake or made up or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you really need to be aware that people are controlling the media to push a narrative. Jim Cramer mentioned ladder attacks, and interestingly, if you Google what is a ladder attack or a short ladder attack, one of the top things that comes up basically says, yeah, that's just some BS that Redditors made up because they want to try and defend their position in GameStop. But if you look into it, like Jim Cramer literally just said, we used to use that stuff. We still do use that stuff. And there are other articles around on the internet. I don't know if you trust Seeking Alpha as a very strong, reliable source, but they have quite a good article breaking down kind of how that dynamic works. But basically, it's a way hedge funds can lower the price of a stock without even actually doing any trading. So these are all different things that are happening, all these different dynamics, trying to get your eyes off the fact that the drama in GameStop could literally change the whole way Wall Street works. People have been asking me, do you think the SEC is going to get involved? I really wouldn't be surprised if the SEC is just homies with all of these people. People have been asking me, is this a Republican thing or a Democrat thing? I don't think it's necessarily one or the other. I think kind of everybody at the top just kind of controls whatever they want to be doing. So all that to say, how does this impact our view for stocks going forward? One of the interesting things that you see on news when people are saying like, oh yeah, these Reddit noobs, these beginners on Robinhood don't know what they're doing, so we should make laws against beginners being able to invest in the stock market. What a lot of them continually go back and say is, why would you invest in GameStop? Why are you paying $200 for GameStop? This company has no fundamentals. It should be burned. It should go down. Thus, we are the good guys. But people like Elon Musk and Chamath Palihapitiya and stuff come back and say, dude, the problem is not people liking a stock and buying it. The problem is that the hedge funds, for some reason, are allowed to short more than 100% of the entire float. That is broken. And there's even more evidence coming out that a lot of the shares of GameStop have just been made up. They're fake. There's like this huge amount, like 30% of the actual amount of stocks is just made up, manufactured fake stocks so that hedge funds can short even more and make even more money. So if GameStop's price continues to stay really high, these big hedge funds will never be able to buy back at a reasonable price without taking massive losses. And so if this ends up overturning things in a big way, it'll be really interesting to see what happens. But going back to my question about what do we do about stocks going forward, like the hedge funds and the small guys all agree that good, solid companies with good, solid fundamentals should be growing, should be doing well going into the future. And so regardless of which side on the fence you stand on, you want to be looking into companies. You want to be finding out companies who are going to be growing, who are going to be making profits, who are going to be changing the world and helping the world, And so in a lot of my videos, I talk a lot about that. Like, should you be investing in this stock? Are the fundamentals good? How do we dollar cost average? What is our long-term strategy? Things like that. And so it's just a reminder to go back to the basics, be looking at solid companies. Those are my thoughts for you for today. Check out my other video on what a short ladder attack is if you are interested in that. And also check out the wraps if you haven't checked them out. Just a little bit playing around. I've only been wrapping for like a week, so let me know what you think about that. Thank you guys very much for your time. Love you. Have a great week.